Hey everybody, Asher here, and welcome back to Roadwarden, where we are having a nice, relaxing day inside of Pelt of the North, which is just Pelt, and it's currently the southernmost part of the Northern Peninsula. Directions are fun. It is another day, or maybe we can make another dollar. We have officially circled the wagon here, circled the area. Now, there are some places we still need to get to, like there's a rock slide, there's potentially a western move that we can do here. And there's lots of stuff to explore as well. So we have plenty of options, things to do. And as I said before, we are only on day 4. The clock is going to start moving a little bit faster as we move around. But first, let us get to know the information that Innkeeper has and pump him for it. So starting with Asterion, the previous Roadwarden. And I'm sorry, my voices are not going to be inconsistent from last time because it's been a few days since recording. So sorry. I'm trying my best. Are you now? He goes to the table and invites you to sit down with him. I don't think I'm going to be much help. He rests his elbow on the tabletop and grunts quietly to clear his throat. But I do want you to find him. When asked about his intentions, he measures his words. Asterion and I made a risky deal. Well, a very promising one. Last time he was here, he took 50 coins, half of my investment. He knocks on the table with a fist anxiously. If you get my coin, or at least find out what happened to the guy, I'll make sure you won't be disappointed after bringing me the news. So could have he just took the money and run. He looks at the window and starts to play with the shutter. I just think Asterion ain't the kind of soul that would do such a thing. For him, it wasn't much of a fortune, and I'd risk saying he had earned my trust. Not only mine, you know. It's easy for a Roadwarden to make connections. He always had places to go and things to take care of. He rubs the table with his thumb as if trying to clean an invisible stain. I've asked travelers. I've sent a couple of my pals to find him. No real news. I know he stayed in White Marshes for a day, and was meant to do something for the people there. It's a village in the northwest. Just stay on the main road until you reach the bogs, and then enter them. You may get there before dusk. So let me know once you find anything, and we may yet return to this whole investment thing. So we have an additional quest to find the Roadwarden some more. Tell me about the peninsula. What could anyone say? This place doesn't even have a name unless there's an old book in an archive that no soul knows about. You know what I'll call everything here to the coast? The hunting ground. He glances at your eyes. But it's not us who hunt. Keep that in heart. But the beasts of all shapes and forms. His words gain confidence slowly, which is strengthened by his deep voice. I've lived in this inn for over 10 years now, and I've only seen a couple of roads, a couple of places. It's just, once you get here and then you see how harsh it is to hit the road, you only have more reason to stay at the warm stove behind a wall, even if it's suffocating. He looks towards the windows. I'm sure you've heard a lot already. That the people don't build hamlets anymore, that there's no more ibexes from the south, and the traders stay for only a few days, and all of our iron is used for cauldrons, not swords or tools. So let's see what we have here. We've already traveled around here, but I'm curious about the context here. What's to the west? Well, there are hills nearby, and you'll find a village maybe an hour away from there. It was destroyed by beasts almost a decade ago. Nothing to see there. The goblins live there now, so most people just travel around it, and they say it's haunted, but who knows? Who cares? He crosses his arms and starts to sway back and forth, gathering his thoughts. You'll get to a large tree on the edge of the swamp. For locals, it's sacred. You're not used to hearing someone mentioning pagans as if there's nothing unusual about them. There's a small path south which leads to an old mine in the mountains. Nothing to find there, but keep riding north and you'll find Howler's Dell and a clean brook. Farmers live there, and Mufflins and Druids, and they'll let you stay a night, but they're not cheap. If anyone thinks my prices are bad, it means they ain't been to the 8-Bale Inn yet. He lets out a gentle smile. I know only a little bit about the next settlement, Old Pagos. The soil there ain't too fertile, so they work in their quarry and help other settlements build things in exchange for crops. The forest and hills ain't too harsh, but the Seekers have a small monastery nearby in the mountains. I don't care much about them. They keep to themselves, and they don't pay well. The third village is unknown to me, White Marshes, set at the bogs. I've heard it smells like a griffin's lair. I've heard a lot of nasty rumors about the place, but I won't share them. I don't want to be a lie spreader. So 3 villages really, Howlers, the one near the monastery, whatever it's called, and Marshes. Don't let their beds and palisades fool you, though. Weird people live there. Don't tell them more than you need to. You wonder if that's something he would tell other travelers as well. So tell me about the east, then. Pretty much, don't leave the main road, I'd say. Not so far from here you'll find an old dolmen. A few of my people had to spend a night there, and the monkeys stole our food and gods from their bags. It was their fault. One of them had fallen asleep in the middle of his watch, but you know. The eastern forests are wild, the roads are rough. Almost no soul lives there. One day all these roads will be swallowed by the trees again. The furthest my team has ever gone was the home of the Enchantress. Just stay on track until you reach the crossroads right near the abandoned watchtower, and from there turn east. You'll recognize the place. It's a nice home to a lonely meadow, surrounded by a wall. He looks towards the closed window, then at you again. Kind of like our walls, but simpler, without coating. She lives as a hermit, Eudocia. I don't even know how she survives there, but if you don't have decent coin, you won't find much there. So back to the crossroads. If you turn left instead, you'll see a road. People stay away from it. It connects to the tower and the monastery, a shortcut between the two sides of the peninsula. I was warned by the locals not to use it. It already belongs to the beast. Tell me about the northern coast. I only know about it from another end. Or about another end. It's far from here, maybe a day on foot. A bit less from the eastern side. I've never been there, but I've heard it's a safe place. Close to villages and fishes and hunters, though I don't know much about it. Well, I know about it. Okay. So, let's go through the dialogue options here. Ah, so you know a thing or two after all, his mocking tone is soon replaced by a gentle smile. It was built long before we arrived. It didn't work out well for the previous owners. Once the war ended, they left. Not enough travelers, bad trade, the villagers stick to themselves. We, however, came prepared, and now we're prospering. When you ask him how they can afford all the supplies, he runs his fingers through his dark hair. I'm not against running an inn, but we don't rely on guests. We're the ones doing all the trading. My hunters catch a clever bunch and stay safe in the forest. In exchange for furs, claws, and bones, we get what we need and more, both from the south and the north. He relaxes in his chair. We have a good life here. We spend a whole lot on armor, crossbows, lumber, spear. But in another 10, maybe 20 years, we'll have enough savings to move to Hovleven and not work another day of our lives. We take risks, but smartly. The team is stronger than ever, and I have big plans for us. So, do I want to ask about the purple skin? I don't think I want to ask about the purple skin. Or the story behind the inn's name. I mean, there is a story, but not a good one. He clears his throat. For years, I wanted to have an inn called Pelt. But in my city, it would be in bad taste. Taverns and inns, named with a single word, were cheap and had a nasty reputation. There was Claw and Mugger, Basilisk, and Blissful, I think. The good places used to use two words. Empty barrel, a rose and a helmet, Empress's smile, Pighead was the exception. It was a real dive, he chuckles. In my soul, it's still just Pelt. Pelts are what we came here for and what will make us reach our goals. So let's turn to our other questions. Glaucius banned. He freezes, observing your hands silently. He wants me to get the answer from the mayor of Howler's Dell. Well, interesting. Any rumors worth sharing? He crosses his arms. I don't like to talk to people who ain't nearby, but you know what you're doing. Who are you wondering about? Tell me about... Let's try Empress. What do you mean? He's trying to find her all these years. The Empress is gone and she'll never be back. Oh, okay, so if we think of some other people to try to ask about, we can ask about it. So, let's see here. We have some daylight to travel. We don't know if some of these places are open or closed, so... There's a large tree. We did see that tree, so we know there's a mine down here. We know this connects to this. I guess that's kind of obvious. And we know we can't get up here at the end of the night, but I am curious about if we can actually clear some of this shit out before things are said and done. We do want to go to the dolmen. I just want to make sure we're not missing anything else. The armor... You walk past the well and find a small open shed not unlike the stable, but with a humble set of tables, carving tools, hammers, sharpening stones, pincers, knives, and other tools. As long as something can be solved by brute force, this place will find a way to do so. There are two people sitting on a long bench. The first one is made with a maybe inch-long hair, a clean-shaven face, and thin, long yellow tunic, bare legs, and sandals. He ignores your presence, doing a gamson with great concentration. The second person is a boy, maybe 15, who's wearing the crude outfit of a farmer. He glances at you, but soon returns to a long dagger. Greetings! The man raises his head, but it's the boy who speaks, focused on his task. He ain't talking. Tell him what it is you need. So, what can we do with the services? He nods, points to the laces in front of your jacket, and raises his clenched fingers to his shoulders, then gently spreads and lowers them, as if he's taking off a robe. You follow in command and allow him to properly inspect your gamson, which we did damage a little bit last episode. After a few minutes, he gives it back, then reaches for his pouch. He pulls out one dragon bone, shrugs, and then another one, and waves both in the air, pursing lips. He makes a few speech-like noises with his empty mouth, groaning what sounds like, "I don't know." So we can pay, and our jacket will be patched up. I'm going to hold off on that for now. So I think we talked to the guards before, but let's see here one more time. The woman in yellow armor is kneeling next to a brown hairy boar, which is resting on its side. The beast is not as large as the dark ones from the forest. It responds to the touch of the woman's hand and brush with grateful grunting and rapid twitches of a hind hoof. No matter how friendly it appears, it's still tethered to the well, and you have no doubts its charge leaves Sodal dead in a breath. When the woman notices you, she steps forward to the board's disappointment. "So, new Roadwarden." She points to a window with her chin, forestalling the question. "We don't need anything now, but when we travel with our furs, we could use some assistance." She may be around 30, but her warm voice and bright smile are camouflaging the touch of time on her unpowdered face. Like many red-haired people with freckles, her skin is unhealthily pale. The boar runs up to her, observing her boots and fruitlessly sniffing for food beneath the ground. She pats its back but maintains her focus. "How about a game or two? We have a bit of time and can talk a bit about this and that. Maybe you'll get a couple of coins, or lose one. We could play dice or throw axes at a target." I think we're going to play some throwing axes, considering we are a warrior here. I mean, we have a little bit of cash. Your arrival, and especially the dragon bone you pull out, are cheerfully welcomed. The guards prepare a couple of wooden planks, which are leaned against the wall. There are also spectators, and you're told that the other hunters are either sleeping or have duty on the tower. "Remember, no magic," says one of the players. His face is deadly serious, so let's read that again. "Remember, no magic." Ooh, seems like someone's had a problem with that before. "There are going to be 4 participants in 8 rounds. You aim at the target drawn with charcoal. The person whose axe lands the closest to the center of the circle gets a point. Axes that fail to stay in the plank don't count. The person who has the most points at the end of the last turn becomes the winner. So let's blend in with the group." So we do have this here. Use violence or a direct threat. Oh, God. You talk a lot, but also don't say much. You share casual jokes, memories, and views on luck and optimal strategies. Sodal and Tullia's camp are also brought up, but when you ask about the roads or the locals, the stories are vague. The drinks are here, and it's poor beer made from leftovers after the regular brewing. It's cold, sweet, and doesn't reach your head, but you try to avoid the smell. "Just don't spill anything, the boar may get sick," says the opponent with one arm. As a guest, you start with the first throw. Your axe flies well, hitting the very middle of the painted target and piercing the plank with a pleasant thud, which makes it really difficult for the other players to outperform you. A minute later, you've won the first round, but you can't expect to get that lucky every time. So, this doesn't automatically do things, does it? So all I can do is try my best, or I've trained at axe throwing for years, I've got this. Well, let's see if we can use violence or a direct threat. Oh, we got 3 coins! Yes! Alright, after getting your 4th point, the other players nod with respect. "Quite a score," you hear from Dalit as she hands you your dragon bones. The other participants carry away their remaining planks. So we can ask some questions now. See, this is good. This is good. This is one of the lessons that Kira's learned so far in her journey, which this is a story about growth for her, is that sometimes you can't just sit there and be all aloof badass and walk around. Sometimes you just got to get in with the locals a little bit. So we may not be able to ask all of these questions. Let's start with a few hunters from Creeks, Vashel, Dahlia, and Admin. Were they here? "I don't know those names." She looks at her companions while there's someone who claims to have met them. He has nothing to say about him. She glances at the boar, which is now very interested in the smell of your boots, and giggles. "It's a long way from here to Creeks. I mostly spoke with Efren. Have you met him?" So I'll be nice. He's a nice guy. She starts to laugh. "Well, maybe I wouldn't say nice, but there's charm in his vigor." So let's talk about the heart of the woods. We sometimes hunt south of here, and there's good hunting grounds in the western half. The second one is too overgrown. Maybe the soil's different. She shrugs and moves her hair away from her forehead. But it's a risky spot. There are treants there and wolves, even the furless ones. And if you have to go through the tall grasses, watch out for what's on the ground. There ain't many archers in those trees, but there are all too many worms and even larger than a water leech. Okay, let's ask about the arrow that fell. She returns it without hesitation. Nah, we get ours from the villages to the south, and they don't use pheasant feathers. The locals ask too much for their arrows, as if they filled with pneuma or something. Alright, so let's say Illyn. Illyn says hi. Let's double check our journal and remind ourselves of who Illyn is. Illyn is not listed as one of the people, so I'm going to assume it's one of the people that lost his arm in battle or something. She looks up, twirling her hair. I'm sorry, who? Foggy Sun. She gives you a beaming smile. Ah, so that's his name. His accent is so thick I kind of misheard it. Forgive me. How's he doing? You gossip about the man and his companion, and a couple of the hunters join your conversation, asking about the Eastern Road, tavern, and traveling in general. A good couple of minutes is spent on discussing fashion and creeks. Some of the hunters regret not being used to wearing leather and furs, while the others are convinced that linen is more convenient. And if you're cold, just pull on a cloak, says the woman, with a bandage on her neck. After some time, the guards walk away, leaving you and Dalit and the napping boar. Well, oh, she giggles, cover her confusion. Are you asking me out? I ain't interested in any silliness. She brushes away her hair from her forehead. The tangled chaos all over her scalp cares not for her efforts. Well, yeah, half my life ago I was living on crops, but I bet I've shot down more monsters than you've broken eggs. Are you much of a fighter? Many more eyes turn towards you. Well, so we have, I don't fight unless I have to. That's not true. Rather have friendly blades on my side. If you live as a traveler, you face enemies. Not really an option. I fight to protect others. That's not really true. There's something pleasing in triumph. Well, this is true. While Dalit pats the board, the guards get back to their own affairs. I guess, but there's always an option to stop the journey. One should always look for a new home. Well, I have some questions about this place, or I have a job for your crew. Let's do questions here. Alright, there are many beasts around. Wild game is dangerous monsters. We spend our time surrounded by these walls. Living only to hunt, forage, and trade. I guess I gave the wrong answer. I should have said, I want to win. I want to try. If it is pleasing to have 7 coins now. Okay. Like Hovland Fair, talking about the tower and the gate. But it ain't here to protect the gate. This stronghold was built long before we moved in and not to fight off humans. The tower was meant to use by those who observe the deep forest. We look out for fires, dragons, and any winged creatures that are looking to roost on the roof. Baldy, she nods towards the man who, indeed, is completely bald, has a great eye, and sees even in the darkness. Interesting creatures live by. Well, it sure sounds like it. Here, ha! Everything lives here, she flips her hair. I swear we saw a few dragons, a unicorn family, a battle between trolls and goblins, faced 2 beastmen, oh, and a gargoyle, and a hunting queen shouts all the time. I could tell you all about them, but I won't. She winks and pats her boar on the head. You know, hunters have their secrets. Okay, groups attached to the boar. How could you not be? She crouches and raises the boar's head, but it steps away and squeals as if someone's murdering it. It came with us from the city, just in case. We had no clue how our first winter would look, so we needed some backup meat. And if it works too, cleans the dirt. She reaches out with the beast again, and it trots away. The woman straightens up with a pleased sigh. We haven't needed to eat it so far, but it's also funny. I learned in my home village that the farm boars are getting a bit smaller and more cuddly, kind of like ibexes. So it's not such a wild, dangerous beast, but I don't let it get close to other animals or children. So what do we usually hunt for? Anything we can eat or sell. If there's a partridge, a squirrel, or a rat, we don't complain, but when we move as a group, we look for something larger. Deers or aurochs are delicious, but we don't always look for taste alone. There's value in bones, antlers, claws, tusks, things people use to make tools or sculptures. We use some of them to make tools and spears, and you can never have enough spears. She pauses and looks at the strand on her hair, then suddenly speaks up again. And we look for furs, of course. So what can we find north of here? I'm sorry. We don't really go out to those regions. We stay close to home, only sometimes travel south or west to Hallersdale, but only to trade. They're fine with buying more than they need since they can take the wares to the coast. She takes a long breath, twirling her hair and gathering her thoughts. You know what? I've never even seen a beach, and I've been living here more than 10 years now. She giggles. There's only a part of the sea I've ever seen was from Old Pagos, which is placed on a hill. I've never put my toe in salt water. She looks towards another huntress who confirms that her experience is the same. But Old Pagos is a good place. As long as you don't mock their order and act nice, they'll be kind. Boss says they're too serious for him to stand them, but at least they don't bite without a reason. Anything about necromancers? It's something new, her voice lowers to a whisper. I've never been to White Marshes, but over the years we've seen people moving away from there south. They told us the place has changed too much. A priest died, I think, and a new one awakens the dead. Sorry, Roadwarden, that's all I know. If she's hiding something, she sounds convincing. So, we have a new unlock here. I'm looking for knowledge about wild creatures. Well, I told you knowledge is valuable. I don't know. She looks at the boar, which seems to be obsessed with clumps of grass growing next to the wall. 15 dragons, no less. Well, she says no less. We're not really friends yet. I don't have enough. So remember when I thought I was rich because I had 7 coins? Apparently not that rich. There are some goblins in a nearby road, supposed danger of the road. As long as it involves someone paying for it, I'm ready to listen. What do you know about the pack? Without interruptions, you tell as much as you can. Getting rid of them will do the trick for sure, but as long as those buildings aren't razed to the ground, new beasts will move in sooner or later. Though I ain't one to stop you from reaching into your pouch. You need to take care of some things first. Hunters or not, we won't raid a lair blindly. So what do we need to do? She lists the tasks one by one, in the meantime bending forward to brush the boar. Make sure you've looked around the entire village. My crew will get mad if it turns out that yet another lair is just behind a corner. Then be sure there's no soul around. When we fight, we don't do rescue jobs, and if we do, they cost a lot. The boar grunts, turns around, letting her do the other side. Speaking of which, for you it's going to be, she squints her eyes, 10 coins. But we'll take some of the loot we find. We won't let go of magic swords and rings just because of it. Not that I expect any. She straightens up, but who knows? So, just so you know, I'll bring my axe with me. She looks at you as if you're a lunatic. We won't take you with us, Kira. If you can kill a goblin, good, but we have a team, our own words, knowledge of a strong and weak sides. We don't need you around. Just give us 2 or 3 days after you pay us and we'll take care of it. Ooh, that is fascinating. Okay, so that's her. That's a lot of interesting info. I mean, I know I said we were going to be moving around a lot, but yeah, so we do need to explore the ruins, but we can't explore it anymore today. I want to go back to the dolmen. And I think I'm going to be targeting staying at Pell to the north tonight. So we're here. A gentle breeze is stirring the leaves loudly, making you seek possible threats that could camouflage their movements. So we're here. The chapel is empty of life. Now, if we look at our journal, because we were told to come here before, that we actually do have a key here for something. I'm not sure. Spirit Rock. Okay, that's from the Enchantress. We don't know about that. Howler's Dell. An altar in the swamps seems to be somehow connected to the tree. So we have... I do need to go through this. Oh yeah, I sold that letter. That's probably going to end very poorly for me. Merchant's Medicant. Oh, I could look at the potion. A secret chamber of a dolmen somewhere to the southern road. So let's look around for secret chamber. You either don't find it, well, okay, when we were looking here last time, there's a down arrow pointing something, so look at the floor. Even this part of the ground is covered with a single massive slab. There are parts free of the flooring. You see soil, small rocks. In one spot, you find the remnants of charred wood. Let's look at, secret door. If it's here, it's hidden. Trapdoor? You make a couple of small holes in various spots, but the most interesting area turns out to be... Oh, shit, that worked. Hidden beneath the remains of an old campfire. You move the ash and pieces of wood until you find a very well-preserved plank. You dig around, find a solid trapdoor locked with a steel paddock. I could break it with my axe, or I could use a key. Let's see if the key works. It works! You insert the key, and after a bit of wiggling, something clicks. The padlock is cold, dirty, and rusty, but you easily get the iron latch, which moves away smoothly. You have no problem unlocking the trap door. Oh god, I'm gonna have to fight something, aren't I? You lift the hatch and the heavy humid air suggests an abandoned farm cellar. Your candle allows you to estimate the tunnel is roughly 15 feet deep, but there's no ladder you can use. You think about lowering a rope, and you realize one of the brick walls is covered with large holes meant to be used as sort of vertical stairs. You hear no sound coming from the tunnel, but the moldy walls and old cobwebs are not welcoming. Oh, we're going by candlelight. Why not? You have to move slowly, learning the new route. You hug the cold, moist wall, seeking the support of your boots. It doesn't take long before you feel comfortable enough to jump down, then light up another candle. Both walls and floor are made of stone slabs. You see no movement, no sources of light. The short tunnel leads you to a small room. Well, there we go. Well, hopefully nothing's going to kill us here. The room smells of rotten wood and fungi. Abandoned junk is scattered on the floor, ground in shelves, earthenware jars, rotting scraps and linen and leather, wood plates, bones, carvings, rusty iron tools. While these odds and ends may be years or decades old, the basement could be just as ancient as the main floor of the chapel. The one thing that seems to be uniquely fresh and durable is a small wooden box held together by a few fiber cords. I take the box, obviously. It doesn't feel empty, but it's light. You shake it for a bit. Oh, why would you shake the box, Kira? Trying to guess what's inside. You can't open the box without cutting the cords. I cut the cords open and look at the box here. The box turns out to be filled with rags covering a fragile bottle. It's small and closed with a tall wax seal, inside which you see a thin stick. It should be easy to instantly open if needed. You can look inside it, and if you open it, you may not be able to seal it again. Nevertheless, you recognize a magical potion when you see one. Probably the one that you were meant to find for Akakios, the merchant. Oh, I could drink it? Smell it. I attach it to my belt. It may be useful later on, and I prepared to leave. So we found a bottle. Is it in our inventory? A bottle from the dolmen here. So if we look over here... Okay, maybe I could buy a flask or two from the monks in Old Pagos. I need to deliver to him on day 10 or earlier. So I think we want to go back there because he's going to pay us. We could get back there today. I guess one of my questions is if we go to the fallen tree again. I mean, we could start going up here. We're gonna burn out of daylight though. So let's go back up to how much time do I have left in the day? 3.5 hours. Okay, anyway, using a candle, you memorize the holes, you climb quickly. Let's go outside. Okay, so now we can travel. We cannot make it there in time. That makes a lot more sense. So I don't know if I want to go to the fallen tree again. I think I possibly have a fish trap set up somewhere. So let's try here one more time just to see if anything's changed. It doesn't look like much has changed. The blue sky is filled with rustling trees and songs of birds. When you approach the blockade, a red furry critter gets startled and wanders away. I spend some time setting up a fish trap in the bank. We don't have a lot of time left. You place the basket on the ground, then grab a bowl and start digging. Yeah, this is interesting because we've done this a little bit before. You bait and stick them push inside the basket, locking between the sides, then cover the entrance of the lid, tying it together. It takes a few good moments, but will be easier later on. You tie the rope and rock and push it into the river, far enough that it sinks easily. Who knows how long it'll take before something large enough swims inside. Still, it'll be better not to wait too long, otherwise the prey may die of hunger. We are not going to wash ourselves in the river. We need to seek shelter soon. We can't get there before nightfall. Okay. If we seek shelter... The closest shelter is at Tullia's camp. I guess the closest shelter is at Tullia's camp. I completely forgot I could go back there. All right, let's go visit our friends. All right, here we go. Tullia welcomes you with a smile. Is everything all right? You hear the soldiers' loud discussion as they carry buckets of water. I have more questions. Oh, look, the burned out thing here. Guess what? I met Caius. You mentioned the Tavern of Foggy's Care. Tullia sighs with relief and rests her hands on her sides. Alive. That's good to hear. Deserter or not, how's he doing? Well, let's be honest here. He's not really a man of faith. We don't want to say that he's insane. The people try to put him to good use of soul's healing, even if slowly. You describe what you've seen, making her reach behind her head and take a deep breath. Guess I ought to be a bit less angry thinking about my squad, though it's quite a request, she chuckles. I'm glad he found kindness in the land. I wish he didn't have to look for it, though. Okay, did you ever enter the road entering the heart of the woods? Were any hunters in the north passing by your camp recently? Do you have an idea what happened to the ruined village, and have you ever encountered bandits from the north? Let's ask around. Oh, we were advised not to. Have you seen this huge gate in the west made of rocks very tall? We've met a guard there named Quentin. Maybe a soul, but a bit slow. He almost begged us not to enter the woods, so we took the longer route. That's where all the settlements are anyway. We don't miss much. So any hunters passing by your camp recently? Not from the north, not from the south. She looks, we chuckle. I don't expect this place to be that desolate at this time of year. You're the only soul we've seen in days, unless you count beast folk. Ooh, that's kind of harsh. Oh, it's worth a shot. How can I help you? Do you have any idea what happened to the ruined village? Nah, there were goblins around the walls, so we never went there, but I was told that the Wrath of the Herds crushed it. Wrath of the Herds? Maybe 10 years ago? Her companion agrees with a nod. If there are any survivors, they're surely gone now. Or they got caught by bandits. Have you ever encountered bandits? She lets out a sad sigh. So there are other bandits in the woods, after all. Her companion hits his forehead with his palm. This peninsula really hates us. We can't make a dent in its shell. Tulia puts a hand on his shoulder, then looks back at you. Thanks for telling us, Roadwarden. If I survive long enough to report to someone, I'll be sure to mention it. Okay, maybe I should learn about it first. Sure, good luck with that, the man with the bird chuckles. Thanks. So I approach the barrel with water. The barrel is recently filled by the soldiers. You fish out a few drifting insects. We need 2 pieces of bathing equipment, so we can't really do that. Let's go ahead and sleep then. Alright, so we're gonna... The blanket won't do much to the bed, and the palisade covers you with the wind. Sleeping here will be severely uncomfortable. Well, it's better than dying, I guess. We'll get some food in the morning here. So, it's a calm, warm night. As your first sleep ends, you stretch out and prepare yourself for an active hour or two. It's time to take care of some things that must be done at least once every few days, though they're a bit more challenging than your nightly routine. It's time for my training. Practice cuts, stances, dodges, steps, but also inspect every blade I own. So we can win more axe throwing? Ooh, I should try that. So here we are again. We are hungry. We're less vitality to... But we do have another day. And I do want to go to the east for sure, but we're going to stop by Pelt of the North to eat. We'll stop by Hallersdale. We'll go down here. We may even be able to poke over here finally, things permitting. I really don't want to stop at the ford because there's bugs. And it looks like we can't go there until we go to the peat fields. We do need to get back up to Foggy Lake. I'm pretty sure if we look at our journal one more time. We need 6 food rations, fallen tree, eastern path. Okay, we have tunnels. We want to get we saw a lantern in Hallersdale, so that's true. All right. Should I report back to Theus for this? I don't know if I want to report everything to her, but it's fine. Well, let's take care of the problem in front of us. I'm hungry and tired and maybe need to throw some axes. All right, so let's get over here. I could eat something. Do you have any leftovers? Yes, I fed them to our boar. I won't give anything away for nothing. Go through and turn, or he tells you wait, then leaves the building for a few minutes and returns the wooden bucket and a long stick with the ending at the hook. Go through the gate, turn left, you'll find a bunch of bushes. We need some berries. Bring me a bucket full, you'll be done in half an hour or so. Your horse could use a nap anyway, and I'll prepare something to fill you. The hook is not made of metal of wood, it's long, clawed, curved back. So half an hour, that's quite a lot for berry picking, or do I look like someone who forages for berries? I'm hungry, I will forage for berries. The tools are cold, not heavy, notice a pair of thick gloves at the bottom of the bucket. The berries are not the problem, the innkeeper smirks, unlike the snakes. Better scare them away with a stick and move with the hook. And protect your hands, the little ones won't eat you, but don't get bitten. I'm sure you know how to be patient. So you step outside, and let's go forage for berries. The innkeeper knew what he was talking about. You place the gloves and you put on the gloves, and look through the bushes from a safe distance. It doesn't take long before you notice the first serpent lying on a rock somewhere in the thicket. The creatures are not that large, and even if some of them hiss at you, slither closer, the jabs of the hook keep them at a distance. You don't know much about these berries. They are round and reddish. You wouldn't trust such a color even if you were looking for food in the wilderness. The plants don't have thorns, but the leaves are harsh, so you make sure to thoroughly cover your skin with your clothes. You have to look through many bushes to fill the bucket, but the presence of insects and snakes doesn't allow you to relax, so that's half an hour gone. You return to the courtyard. Two of the guards are participating in a friendly skirmish. The wrestling is accompanied by a crowd. Alright, so something bothering you? Yeah, here's something on. Great! Alright, we got good food here. I've got cabbage stew with a few goose chunks for you. I serve it even to merchants if there are any around. The meat is warm and filling, it's well seasoned and not overcooked. And like I've said, I rarely have food to spare, but feel free to ask if you ever stop by. You may be lucky. I've been cooking my whole life. Thanks. And now, how did that old hook of mine work out for you? I still see you have it in your hands. Oh my god, I can say I lost it. I'll give him the hook. It's fine. He takes the tools. Need anything else? So let's see here. Do I have anything you want to buy? So we don't. Anything to sell. I can't go pick up a few things for you. Some food for your travels. So start with apples, nuts, sausage. Not too many at once. We need to maintain our supplies. I've got elk fur I don't need. Its buyer was caught by a pack of red wolves. Nice for a sleeping spot, just like nice for a wall. An almost untouched bowl of soap. Priceless for a traveler. You can tell he's being sarcastic. Made of fine oak ash. Strong, though you shouldn't have some better supplies where you start your own bathhouse. After you mention you like something more useful on these roads, he looks down. I don't have any blades or armor to spare, but if you pay well, you can take one of our crossbows and a bunch of quarrels. A yew-bow, wool cords, and the trigger needs a little bit of oil. It's just as good as you can get without soaking it in magic. Takes a bit of muscle to draw, but even a 16-year-old could handle it. It won't sell cheap, but I'm ready to give a discount to a helpful ally. So we have crossbow quarrels, because I believe our inventory, we already do have a crossbow. High-class fur. And a box of soap. Okay, we are going to need some more rations. I'm going to buy the soap. And I'm going to buy a ration. Whoa, I did not mean to buy that many rations. Apparently, we bought 3 food rations all at once, and we can't buy more until tomorrow. Let's look at our inventory real quick. So we already have a crossbow with 2 bolts. I think it's going to be a little bit safer, because we are going to get paid for handing that potion over, hopefully. I'm going to buy, just to make sure I have more quarrels. So, we know this is a good place for food. So, let's talk to the guards. How about some axe throwing? If you think you can handle it, we'll throw 8 times. Ready when you are. We got 3 crowns today, or 3 dragon bones. Crowns. What game am I playing? Between the thudding of axes, there's plenty of time for casual gossip. After getting the 4th point, the other players are still mad at me. So, knowledge for wild creatures. I do want to get that, but we're not there yet. Foraging for berries, she chuckles. So I heard, don't worry about it. Usually we forage by ourselves, but he wouldn't ask you for a dragon for a meal. He gives small jobs to people all the time just to see who agrees to do them. Wants to judge who's of use and who's too proud to do it for their own good. So there we go. Let's walk away. And I think it's time to travel, because we got plenty of time and places to go. If that's a dead end here, let's go back to Howler's Delve first. Because we can down here, you ride through the open gate and swiftly dismount. Some locals greet you politely, but they keep their distance after they notice your own smell and dirt on your clothes. You no longer wonder why. Well, your clothes are worn and torn. Well, I do have a travel set. I thought I bought soap. There should be soap somewhere. I should be okay. Head to the stables. The stable master doesn't like us. We're not staying in here all day, so I'm totally not going to pay. So we can go to the tailor. The druids won't see me. I could offer my services to the guard. We're halfway through the day. Let's go to the main square here, because we know a Calcios is here right now. Okay, so about that potion. First off, what do you have for sale? So he's the one with the lantern. The fabric, the new battle axe, those are all very nice. But let's go ahead and buy a wooden lantern. So that's very exciting. So that means that we're definitely going to go exploring pretty soon. About that potion, did you get it? Right here. With a grin, he picks up the bottle, gently jiggles it, weighs it in his hand, then puts it on the counter. Great, now let me hope my little girl will not get herself swallowed by a dragon. So we said 5 rings, it's yours. So he looks for the coins in his large pouch. Thanks, oh, bringer of good news. So we don't have the potion anymore. Any goods to sell? Not really. Okay. Do we talk to the mayor again, or do we just keep going? I think we just keep going. I want to see if I can get to the western crossroads. And worst comes to worst, we could try to go up here. Maybe start looking in the old tunnel a little bit. Oh man. Okay, yeah, we're gonna leave the square for now. Although the one nice thing is that I would be able to bathe myself really well, but we're just gonna look like hell. Let's go over this way. Alright, the path is clear, in a way. The peddler's nowhere in sight, but the road is covered with leaves and broken branches. The only fruit-bearing trees are growing right on the sides of the road, surely planted there by humans. There are many more fruits and leaves the monsters may chew on, so it may return any day now. So if it craves this place has much to offer, I should just get rid of the food. It may take me an hour or two, but at least I'll gather some fruits for myself. Or who knows, maybe it won't. So the question is, do I... Clearly this is somebody else's stuff, but we are just on a path here. It's going to take an hour or two. Let's just continue on. All right. The corridor of prune trees leads you to a steep ascent. Behind them grows a peaceful meadow filled with flowers and crickets and the humming of a waterfall. On the beaten path you spot no footprints or wheeled trails, but there's smoke on the horizon. So we dismount and lead Saddle on a rope. The pasture and fields are spread over an unnatural plateau. Humans must have been carving in the hill for generations, covering it with soil brought here in buckets and wagons. Among the weeds and tall grasses you spot rotting tools and a tunic. The pasture is overgrowing, and so do the fields. Some of the oats are ready for harvest. So something is wrong. Get out my axe. The lock gate is taller than a troll, and you can't imagine climbing up the massive wall. For a moment you follow the path to the edge of the cliff. The roaming ocean is more than 100 feet below you. You spot no one looking at you from the watchtower, no patrols of archers. The wall is occupied by black and blue birds of various types. You return to the gate and focus on the sounds. There are a few screaming ibexes, and a young boy is crying. I knock on the gate with the handle of my weapon. The thudding scares away the birds. They call loudly, startling the cacophony of throats and flapping wings. After maybe a minute, you hear a bronze plate scratching against the wood as someone reveals the peephole. A strict female voice stops you from moving closer. Traveler! Old Pagos is secluding, for it has been smitten by a deadly plague. Be gone before ye may get sick. So we're not going to be friendly to that. We're not going to joke about that. We're not going to threaten, and we're not going to nod towards the peephole and run away. Introduce myself. We can't welcome you with bread nor meat. She looks young, brown eyes that match the skin of her black-haired owner. While the woman looks like a southerner, she has strong local accent. She follows you cautiously without blinking like a fighter waiting to strike. We parted with a dozen souls already. The monks are in the north are the masters of spells and potions, guided by the Right himself, yet even they can't help us. You hear more footsteps gathering near the entrance, and a weak voice of an elder chirps in. May them be blessed, for they look after our ill. The woman continues, You won't find shelter here. We ought not to drown other tribes with us, such is our duty. A pause. Even if they would not show us such kindness. Well, I do have a few questions. Ask, but there's not much we can do for you. We see no one. We travel nowhere. We were born on this hill and will die here. After a few breaths, her eyes get kinder. I'm Tertia. If you bring any news, I'll take it to the council. So tell me more of this illness. She glances at someone or something that stands to her right. It lasts a long time, even when those who avoid death remain weak for days. There are fevers, headaches, red faces, red eyes, and a rash. And those of whom we had to burn were sleeping and raving, unable to understand us, and got too weak to move or even drink. She looks down. Children and elderly suffer the most. So why don't you harvest any of the crops? Even though her cold gaze doesn't break, her voice betrays her pain. Some of our youth refuse to stay behind the walls. They say they need to leave before they fall sick. If we were to let them outside, one of them could refuse to come back. You frown. No, it wasn't pain that you've heard. It's shame. Asterion, the previous Roadwarden. You can't tell anything from her eyes. Is he dead? What makes you think that, or I want to know for sure? If he's not, what else? Souls perish on the road every day. We don't wait for him anymore. The best you can hope for is that he rode south. What is it you were waiting for? That's not much of a secret. She looks to her right, then again. Head far east to the crossroads. You'll find a watchtower, an old building made of stone. You notice pride in her voice, but hardly used since the war. Your friend wanted to turn it into a shelter. Hire guards patrol the roads. He took our key and rode away. He was meant to meet with us again, trade for materials and tools, but it never happened. So who could have such a key? Before it was completed, the builders were spending the rainy days in the coastal village of the far north Gale Rocks, it's called. Ask there. So we're looking for a key in Gale Rocks. Maybe I go back there and type key. Which way would you take if you were to travel to the watchtower? The northern route, most likely. There are tribes there, but the eastern road is dangerous no matter from which way you're going to enter it. But if you care about time, you could check the gates, though opening it on your own may not be easy. It used to be their guards were keeping it down for travelers, but the last one we sent away, Quintus, is either dead or seeking refuge in another village. Still, behind the gate you'll find a shortcut. It's a dangerous path, but your palfrey may be fast enough to get you to the other end. You ask her what she can tell about this gatekeeper, and she gives you a warm look. He may not be the sharpest of wits, but he's loyal to his duty and returns kindness with kindness, like we all should. So are there any hunters from Creeks there with you? Because we're still looking for Creeks hunters. You frown. You're the first soul who's come here in a very long time. I guess that answers the bandits' question. Not in years, Warden. They did attack us on the road once before, but their little pack won't come here. At first her tone is gentle, but she blinks twice. It turns solemn. Or they'd rather face our anger. Our walls are only for your dragons. Our blades are made of steel. Anything for sale? We hardly have enough for ourselves. We used to get supplies for rocks and sculptures. The monks advised us against it. Our wares may carry the illness. Well, that's true. Do you want me to ask other villages for help? There's no love between us and them. We don't share drinks, stories, or dances. If it weren't for marriages, our children would never see each other. And if it wasn't for trade, we could just as well live on a mountain peak. They need our stone. We need fishes and salt from Gale Rocks, game meat from creeks, and grain from Howler's Dell. But all of them are harpies led by greed and lust and the same ills that wounded our grandparents. She hesitates and looks to her left. Still, the wicked souls of white marshes are even more burrowed in the shadows. Does she hold a grudge? She takes a deep breath. Yet I won't spread any rumors. As much as it saddens me, they need to survive, and we need them. And you're even stranger to us than they are. So I met Quintus. He's doing fine. So he is still with us. Her voice rings with enthusiasm. She asked about his well-being, reacting to your story with a mixture of worry and joy. I am sorry to hear about his nose. I hope he knows what we're doing. In his position, I'd just look for work in Howler's Dell or ask for help from his friends at Pelt. So there's nothing else I can think of here at this point. So, it's Old Pagos, a village of stonemasons set on a hill. Can we see the ocean from here? I guess we can see the rocks down there. But there is one more place we can travel to. This may be a good place to stop, though, so I'm going to go ahead and just hit this button. We ascend the gentle hill with green thicket coating the valleys. The path is like an endless bridge, built by the ancient three-legged giants or maybe by the pagan spellcrafters. The higher you get, the fewer plants you see. Hit by a cold wind, you adjust your cloak. Ride slowly, sitting in the center of the saddle. Mountains are harsh for horses. And this is what they were talking about. We get to a new place. There is your holy symbol, and there are caves. Caves dug out in the mountainside. So that's going to do it for this one. This is Asher. With more Roadwarden, we are starting to move around the map here. We have a lantern, so we can start investigating the old tunnel. We're going to have to find out some other things we can do. Clearly, Old Pagos needs help, and I'm going to have to figure out what's going on there. We know that we can go into the ruins. We can hire somebody for that. I think we have a job at Foggy Lake that we can probably do close to now. I kind of want to work my way back there. And I think eventually all of this meandering around, we're eventually going to have to figure out if there's anything we can do in the middle of the area here. But that's going to do it for this one. This is Asher with Roadwarden. Thanks for watching. You all are awesome. Thanks for sticking with it. Let me know your thoughts in the comments if you have any, but we will do this again fairly soon. You all take care.